don't need to master exact positions in golf. Nobody has a perfect swing. Trying to be perfect generally leads to an overanalysis and a loss of freedom. Letting go, having freedom in your swing, is a huge key to golf success. Placing the club to certain positions can, however, produce tremendous results. These 8 steps are the key checkpoint positions I use in my everyday teaching. If you can use these 8 steps to check your swing against, you'll be on your way to building a golf swing you can count on for years to come. Hi, I'm Jim McLean, and welcome to the 8-Step Golf Swing video. Right from the beginning, I need to say that this is a very detailed look at the golf swing. It's not for the beginner or for the non-serious player, but rather it's for someone that's really trying to improve their golf game and really wants to understand what's happening in the golf swing. What I'm going to do is break the golf swing down into 8 positions, and by that I mean 8 steps or stages as you go through the golf swing. And by doing this, we'll be able to check out these different positions and see if you're doing well throughout the golf swing. Now, for example, as the club goes back here to what we call step 2, I'll look to see if it's within a range. I'm not trying to get you to swing into an exact position here where the club is lining up exactly with your hands. That's sort of a model position. But what we have is a corridor of success. So here at step 2, we don't have to be absolutely perfect. In other words, the club head lining up exactly with my hands or the club pointed right down the target line. Rather, there's an area here that we can swing the golf club in, and that's fine. We call those the corridors of success, or the parameters to which you need to swing the golf club. Now let me say there's a warning, and that is each step does contain very complete instructions. So it's easy to get over detailed. Do not overdo it. Be careful that you're just working on simple concepts, because I am going to go through many things that can go wrong within each step. Now, coaches in all sports break down the action of their sport into manageable pieces, and that's what I've tried to do in golf. I don't try to teach all 8 positions to one person in a lesson. I never do that. But I do look at these 8 positions so that I can see where the first problem occurs in the swing. I don't want to be correcting a result, rather I want to be correcting a cause, and that usually happens early on in the golf swing. Also, instead of thinking of 8 different spots, sometimes we break it down to the basic positions, which we would say would be step 2, which is halfway back, 4, top of the swing, 6, impact, and 8, finish. So those would be 4 positions that you could look at in the golf swing so that you wouldn't have to think of 8 different places to go to, but maybe just 4. And sometimes we may just do 2. Now, in each lesson that I give, I always look at the 2 basic components to the golf swing. And that would be the golf club. What is the club doing in the golf swing? And when I look at the club, I'm basically looking at the shaft and the club face. And second, the body. And we put the club down and look at what is the body doing in the golf swing. I look at your balance, your setup position, which I call the universal fundamental setup. Watch how you wind, get back to impact, look at your body angles throughout these positions, and how you go to the finish, and look at the balance throughout the golf swing. I'm also going to talk about what you must not do, and I call those death moves. A death move is an action or a position that is so far from ideal that it will cause you to hit poor shots forever. With a violation of swing fundamentals this dramatic, I recommend an immediate change. So if we look at step 2 again, which gives you some room for individual preferences, if you get the club way behind you with the club face way open, you're in a position that you just cannot recover from. So I'm going to suggest that you immediately change it and get on to some good fundamentals to where you can play some good golf. Now, when most people think of practice, I believe they think of a driving range, blisters on their hands, big stack of golf balls, hitting a lot of golf balls, and maybe for all that work, some measure of success. Now, I don't minimize hard work, far from it, but I do believe that it's very important that you work on the right things. And I see many people go to the range but not a clear idea of what they're trying to do. They don't have a game plan. So hopefully this tape will provide you with clear fundamentals and a clear idea of what you should be working on when you go to the range so that you can use your valuable practice time better. Remember, we're only going to focus on certain steps as you go through the 8-step swing. Don't try to do everything at once. One idea would be to go through the entire tape and then come back to the steps you feel are important, or maybe go back to step 6, which is impact, the most important position in golf, or the moment of truth. And when you understand where you're trying to go to and the conditions of good impact, that oftentimes helps you with your entire golf swing and your whole concept of how to swing the golf ball. So now, let's go on to step 1 and 2. Step 1 is the point in the backswing where the club head is moved about 3 feet away from the ball. What starts the club back? Interestingly, it should be a mini move forward. If that's a little bit confusing, let me demonstrate. Just prior to taking the golf club away, I've noticed that many great players will do one of several things. They'll either push their right knee a little forward, actually lift the right heel, or make a slight body press with the lower body forward. This little micro move forward allows them to rebound back in the backswing very naturally. It promotes balance, athleticism, and rhythm in your takeaway. I've found that this little idea here of the little press is the perfect way to start step 1. I suggest you lift your right heel slightly and return that heel to the ground as a trigger, or use a slight lower body press toward the target. I don't think you should trigger the first move with hand action. We call that a hand press. I still see many people actually push their hands forward to initiate the backswing. Now there are a few problems with that. Number 1, it creates a tremendous angle between the club and center. Number 2, it tends to shut the club face as you push the hands forward. And finally, you tend to take the club too deep to the inside right off the ball. All negative moves. So remember, the first move in the backswing is actually slightly forward. Then comes the first move back. This should be a one-piece action. In other words, everything together. Shoulders, arms, hands, hips, and shift. Weight distribution in the feet can be sensed early. You're off your left foot and onto your right. Sensation in the feet should be strongly felt, while the movement of the club should be unforced and have an involuntary quality to it. As the club first moves back, your head may move laterally a bit on any full swing. Although the head naturally moves, both eyes must remain on the ball. The head's slight lateral motion accommodates a rotation of your upper spine and weight shift onto your right leg. Many great ball strikers have early lateral head motion. It is very rare that you'll find a superior player without a lateral shift. It is virtually impossible to swing around the spine with no movement and keep any athleticism. So early on, the axis of the swing is shifted from being centered at address to the inside of your right leg. The right leg becomes the backswing pivot point. By that I mean we shift slightly over to the right and to the inside part of the right leg. The right leg is the post you will turn on. It's critical that you maintain the flex in your right knee during this step. By that I mean this right knee here must maintain its flex. Not straightening up, but staying nice and flexed as you go through the early steps of the swing. The right leg is your brace. It accepts the weight transfer and helps maintain your shoulders and hips at address levels, meaning that the hips now and the knees will turn more level. Think of your takeaway as a move to the side far more than a rotation around the center of your body. Golfers who think turn as they go to step 1 are highly prone to employing a reverse pivot. That is, loading weight onto the left foot instead of the right foot. The club shaft, meanwhile, stays between the arms. There is no conscious effort to guide the club. The club face stays square to the arc of the swing with no conscious rotation. There is a sensation that the club is swinging away freely, with no rigidity of the hands and the arms. At the same time, control is maintained. You can feel exactly where the club face is located and how it is positioned. In a natural swing action, which follows an arc, the club head rises up gradually along that arc. If the big muscles of the body are used for the takeaway, there will be no quick or jerky motions. Rather, the pace is slow and smooth, setting the stage for good tempo with every shot. Many times, the only swing thought a top player will have is smooth takeaway. If you have correctly established the right leg as the backswing support post, you can pivot with a connected, one-piece action. You'll be off to a smooth start, and it's a takeaway you can practice and perfect. It's also a takeaway you can repeat under pressure, and is a major key to consistency. Here are some basic guidelines that you should remember in order to repeat this step consistently every time you take the club back. Ignition. Use some slight motion to ignite your takeaway. Whichever trigger mechanism you choose, practice it and stick with it. Start your swing with momentum. One piece. Take the club head away from the ball smoothly in a one-piece motion, making sure that your body stays level and is free of any tension. Shaft position. When the club head is approximately 3 feet from the ball, check to see if the club shaft is still between your arms. Weight distribution. Weight is shifted onto the inside of your right leg, and you have maintained the flex in your right knee. I can't stress this enough. Do not think about these things during the swing. Focus on them during your practice time, and then only if this part of your swing is a problem. With such a small initial move, you wouldn't think that much could go wrong. But that is precisely why this first step is so important. There is plenty that can and does go wrong. Dipping or raising your head and body in the backswing is a killer because every action causes a reaction. And by that I mean, if you dip forward, dip down in your backswing, your weight will go toward your toes, you'll be off balance, and on the follow-through, as you come back to the ball, you're going to have to lift up, which requires a tremendous amount of coordination and timing. Generally, it's going to really kill you. If you lift up or pull up in your backswing, this will cause your weight to go too much toward your heels, and you'll tend to lunge at the ball on the downswing. So both of these moves are death moves. A fast move away from the ball is a death move because it throws your timing off right away and indicates an overuse of the hands at the beginning of the swing. The problem with this is you lose your tempo at the beginning of the swing, plus the club runs away from your body. You're not in sync. When the hands work with the body and things work together, we're in good shape. When the hands and the club take off, leaving center behind, we're in real trouble. When your weight stays left or even shifts left as you start to take away, this is the beginning of the classic reverse pivot. Remember, we have two pivot points in the golf swing, the left leg and the right leg. Both of your legs hit the ground. People who reverse pivot often think of their head as a pivot point or try to turn around their spine or try not to move in their backswing. This then causes them to turn into the left leg and they stay in front of the golf ball, never get behind it. When this happens, we have sort of a twisting action of the hips. The hips never get that little motion into the right leg, and the person twists. The right hip actually goes away from a line drawn off the right leg. The left hip goes toward the target. From this position, early on in the backswing, you're dead. Tension. Freezing over the ball with no waggle, no little ignition move here from the beginning of the golf swing is a killer. It's a killer because tension always ruins the golf swing. We need relaxed, soft muscles. We need to stay in motion.